Our Region's Business is sponsored by PNC for the Achiever in You. Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, it is Wednesday. Well, actually it's Sunday, but this is the time every year when the Allegheny Conference on Community Development celebrates our region's wins, the growing number of businesses investing in and expanding in our region. Plus, the private sector is stepping up to bet on the future of a number of communities across our region, with Connellsville, Washington, Mount Oliver, and Knoxville next in line. But first, we're going to talk about those wins. They totaled 302 last year, a 12% increase from the 296 reported in 2012. Of the 302 wins, 206 were corporate investments in newer expanded facilities, 96 were development projects. Together, they represent capital investment in excess of $2.5 billion and should help to create and retain about 8,700 jobs. John Thornton's responsible for one of those wins. He's CEO of Astrobotic in Pittsburgh. Peart is president of the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance, an affiliate of the Allegheny Conference, which co-produces this program. Welcome. Good to see you.
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, great news the other day. I'll tell you, when the announcement came out, John, I think the biggest buzz in the room was about Astrobotic and this plan, to put a Pittsburgh spacecraft on the moon?
That's right. We're flying in 2015. We're going to be bringing payloads from around the world, and we're going to land our rover, drive 500 meters, win the biggest prize in history called the X Prize, and we're going to be kicking off a new business. It's think of us like UPS or FedEx to the moon.
Unbelievable. I think we have a little bit of video that shows, I think it's the rover itself that they're experimenting with. You're down in what, the Strip District?
Yeah, we're right in the Strip District. We're expanding down there. We've got about 12 full-time people. This is the rover driving in our sand pit down in the Strip District. So this rover is actually designed for our second mission. We're planning serial missions. This one will be digging for water at the pole of the moon. So our first mission goes to a cave on the surface of the moon, the first time we've ever seen one up close, and it could be extremely interesting for people someday to live inside of these caves because you get protection from the elements.
Oh my gosh, so you're already working your second lander for the next mission? You haven't done the first mission yet.
We are. You always have to be looking out forward, so we're selling payloads for our first mission, we're lining up payloads for the second mission, and we'll continue the business to grow from there.
Geez, a great illustration to sort of the cutting edge stuff that's going on here.
It's amazing, and what a gem Astrobotic is in the region, and there are all kinds of surprises like this that we find when we track the wins from year to year. And we've been doing this for 7 years now, and every year we see certain trends developing, and more IT, information technologies, is becoming more a part of our region. It's intersecting with a lot of the other sectors where we have a competitive strength as a region. For example, manufacturing and information.
Astrobotic's a great example, right? Kind of blurs manufacturing and IT.
Absolutely, and these companies are creating jobs across the region, so we see a good dispersion across the region of these types of companies. And so Wednesday every year gives us a chance as a region to celebrate that and to tell the story, not only to Pittsburgh, because not too many people know about Astrobotic, so we want to make sure that message gets out there. But we want the country to know about it, we want the world to know about it. So this is a good opportunity for us to do this.
Well, and I was fascinated too in this year's numbers. I think manufacturing was the number one sector last year for the total number of expansions.
That surprises a lot of people. You often hear that manufacturing is dying in this country. We see the exact opposite. We see it being our number one growth sector in terms of the number of projects that are announced every year. It's not as many jobs, but the jobs require individuals with more highly developed skills.
Fewer people making lots more stuff because of technology, right?
Absolutely. And you've talked about it on the show before, imaginepittsburgh.com. It's our web portal for jobs. When we look at the jobs that are listed on that web portal, we have 20,000 open positions. 57% of them require some IT skills.
Wow, over half the available jobs in the region need some IT.
Yes.
I tell you, G talked a little bit about the manufacturing and the IT connection. I would take it that's a big part of the reason why Astrobotic is building this business here?
Absolutely. We love Pittsburgh as a base. We're a hardware company. We're going to be building hardware for a long time to come. We're actually a good example of this transformation that Pittsburgh's seeing. We're located in an old metal stamping facility. So 100 years ago, they were stamping metal in the same facility now that we're building spacecraft that will fly to the surface of the moon. So it's a great sample of what Pittsburgh has to offer here.
And you got a talent base here as well. So
That's right.
Old industrial facilities, but also talent that knows how to build things.
Best robotics in the world, best computer science in the world. We've got a fantastic talent pool here in Pittsburgh. So all of these ideas together combined for a great platform for us to be building a hardware company right in Pittsburgh.
Indeed, at the news conference early in the week, I know you showcased IT, had several examples of IT. We're going to hear about another of them in our second segment. Energy's still happening though, right? We're still seeing activity in that space?
Energy is happening. We're seeing a little bit of a shift in terms of the types of projects. We categorize it as investment projects and development projects. And so Marcellus Shale is maturing in terms of the exploration and production. We're starting to see a shift into the midstream, so the transportation of the natural gas. So we've seen a big uptick in the development projects related to natural gas.
Kind of a sign that the industry's maturing 10 years after that first Marcellus, well, a decade ago, right?
It's been 10 years, surprisingly, since the first well was drilled. So what we're seeing is the industry growing here. The movement of companies into the region on the exploration production side has happened. Now we're seeing the supply chain develop primarily around the midstream, and then the future is downstream, and we're just beginning to see the early waves of those types of
These would be the
opportunities.
companies that use the gas or the byproducts to make things, right?
Absolutely, the wet gas that becomes components into products like ethylene and ethylene glycol.
It says a lot, though, that, what, 12% increase in the total number of
12% increase,
deals,
and I
last
think,
year?
you know, the important message is we have a very diverse economy here in the region. So when you look at companies that are doing exploration for natural gas, you look at manufacturing, you look at information technology, we can ride, you know, these rises and valleys in the economy, and that's the power of Pittsburgh.
Wow, we got this sort of slow and steady, predictable,
constant, consistent, and we just keep at it.
Okay, but then we can shoot for the moon. So
Yes.
next year, you think it might actually happen?
Oh, we're planning on 2015. It's looking good for that. We're selling payloads internationally, so when we fly the first time, we're going to be bringing payloads that will land on the first time for the very first time for their countries. So there will be other countries around the world that will have their Apollo moment aboard our vehicle, and we'll be controlling the robot right here from Pittsburgh, mission control.
Well, mission control of the Strip District? Yeah.
That's right.
And you think there really is a business here? There's a private business investment for the long run.
We've found dozens of groups from around the world that want to fly. We're breaking the price bounds. What used to cost a NASA group or another space agency something like $300 million to do science on the moon, with our capability, we can fly per pound. So there's science instruments that can fly for less than $2 million. So it's a huge change of the way you can explore space, and we're seeing that from around the world.
So the U.S. has gone to the moon, China has gone to the moon, Pittsburgh's going to the moon.
I love it. Great way to leave it and look to the future on a lot of fronts. John Thornton, company's called Astrobotic, Peart from the Pittsburgh Regional Alliance. Thank you both so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, the 2013 winds cut across industries and occurred in all 10 counties in southwestern Pennsylvania. We'll get an update from Washington County when we return.